if you put your hand up to your ear, you can still hear, if you're very quiet, the anguished, frightened, frustrated roar of a lion coming to us from the centuries. You see, this all started many, many years ago when man was new to the earth and the animals still understood each other. And it started with a tiny little field mouse, no bigger than my thumb, with a coat of sleek brown fur, silvery in its sheen. This little mouse, she was out looking for something to eat. And what did she see? But the lion, sleeping, taking a nap. Now for the little mouse, the lion was a fearsome creature, but her curiosity won over her. He's sleeping so peacefully, she thought, as she scampered through the grass on those tiny little feet. Maybe he won't notice me. And she snuck up, fascinated, as the lion breathed in and out. She could feel the hot breath, and she saw his whiskers up close. She wanted to know more, so she went along and looked at his coat and found his tail where the golden fur turns to brown. Emboldened and listening for any movement, not sensing any, she ran up the lion's back and then slid right down his snout, thinking this was wonderful, until she found herself clasped between his paws. And there she looked up to see his eyes wide open. And he looked down at her, and her heart beat so fast, she might have died right there. You know, like those field mice do. They just are so anxious always. She thought, oh, and she started pleading. And the lion said, my, what a nice way to wake up from my nap, with a little snack in my hands. And she said, no, please, please, I beg of you, don't eat me. Look at me. I'm no bigger than a person's thumb. I'm scrawny. I would not make anything of a meal for a king like you. You deserve so much better. You deserve so much more. And the lion pondered this and said, I am the king of animals. I think you're right. I will let you go. You're not worth my time, you little puny thing. And so she ran off and she turned back and she said, I won't forget this kindness you've shown me. If you are ever in need, I will come to your aid. And the lion was astonished by such a bold claim from such a little, puny, insignificant creature, no bigger than my thumb. Well, moons passed. And in that time, man had learned where the lion sleeps. And while the lion was out, one day, man came and set a trap of nets and snares to capture the lion. And sure enough, the lion came home and off went that trap. He was bound, the ropes digging into his flesh. He couldn't move. And he let that cry that we can still hear today, if you're quiet, and if you put your hand up to your ear. He let out that cry of anguish and pain and frustration. And who do you think heard it but that little field mouse? She heard that roar, and she recognized the timbre of his roar, the depth of his voice, and she remembered her promise. So she scampered through the grass, and she found him in his lair, where he was tied up and bound, the ropes further cutting into his flesh, wondering, when is the man going to come and kill him? And she looked, and she was very clever. She found the ropes that were holding him the most, and she started to gnaw. Fibers at a time, fibers at a time. It seemed to take forever, but eventually that rope broke loose, and the lion was free. And from that day forth, he realized that all things, no matter their size, can make important contributions in life. Thank you.